this was supposed to originally be done yesterday, and I still have one that I was supposed to do Thursday. So I reversed the order since I since I was 3 days behind. I pushed one up and reverse course. So I'm doing this one today on hip hop music, and I'm going to do the one I was originally going to do Thursday. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Um, but let's get into it. And I have my fruit snacks, my friends. Fruit snacks are life, 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 life. So wearing my UMD paracord bracelet. Uh, Maryland's, in case you don't know, University of Maryland's commencement ceremony had Kermit the Frog. Um, and that's because there's a connection between the Muppets and the University of Maryland because Jim Henson is is an is an alumnus of University of Maryland. I think he even went to high school in Hyattsville back then. So I'm wearing my little University of Maryland paracord bracelet. The other thing about this paracord bracelet is that it's sneakily a tactical thing. What's up, Carlton? What's going on, brother? Um, yeah, I was just mentioning my alma mater commencement ceremony this week had Kermit the Frog there, which was I think that was a big step up. It was funny. Some people were complaining, saying that bringing in Kermit the Frog was just a way of avoiding talking about political turmoil and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know, uh, Kermit has been at places like Harvard and all sorts of stuff. So it was I think it was a big, that really put, up the prestige, I think, of my alma mater to have him there. He even said, go Terps. Because like I said, Jim Henson was graduated from the University of Maryland long time ago. And when I started graduate school back uh, in '06, they even erected a statue. Not a well, sort of a statue, like what do you call it? Like a memorial of Jim Henson sitting there with Kermit the Frog on campus. And I took a picture of myself sitting there when they first erected it in 2006. Thank you, Moonlit. I appreciate it, brother. I'm gonna pin that to the chat. Switch my filter to all messages. Kermit the Frog is the legend. Yes, sir. That was like one of my first stuffed animals. Matter of fact, I had the Kermit the Frog that came that was the Sesame Street version, not the Muppet Show version. You know the Sesame Street version was when he was like a reporter for Sesame Street News, and he used to have his little he had his raincoat on and his derby. And I didn't notice, but my parents told me later. Well, my mom told me, she was like, there was some time where um, I must no, sorry, that was Curious George. That was a different stuffed animal. That was my other favorite stuffed animal when I was a kid, when I was very little. But Kermit the Frog, I remember I was coming back from elementary school, and I used to get babysat by the neighbor, but the neighbor's kid was really mean, and he used to always pull pranks on me. So I thought he had took my Kermit the Frog toy, and I was so mad. I spun around and was spinning my book bag around and throwing it everywhere, thinking he took my Kermit the Frog. And then later I opened up my book bag and found him in there. I was like, oh, there he is. So, but yeah, I've always been a fan of Kermit the Frog. So to have him speak, I wish I had graduated with this class of 2025 just to go to that commencement speech. I didn't go to my class's commencement speech only because, well, one, a lot of people skipped it because they read, because it's like you had to go to two commencement speeches. You went to the one for your department, and you went for the one for the entire university. graduating class. And so some people would skip the main commencement ceremony and just go to the one for their department. So that's what I did. Plus, I still had credits I still had to complete. So if you still had credits to complete, you couldn't do the main ceremony. You could just do the department ceremony. So that's what I did. Tanisha says hi. What's up, Tanisha? Melissa says, hey, I had a Curious George too. Don't know what happened though because we moved so much. That's why I really recently got my gizmo because I had so many stuffed animals as a kid. It's ridiculous, like stuffed animals and Cabbage Patch dolls. Like, um, so I got Gizmo, but this is a new version of Gizmo. This is the one created by NECA. It's not the original. I could have got the original off eBay, but all the old ones are like kind of ratty looking now. So I got the NECA version because this is the one I saw in Thailand when I went over there moonlit, and I didn't buy it. It was weird that I didn't buy it because everywhere I went in Thailand, like I mean, well, not everyone in Thailand, everywhere, every Chinatown I went to, and every country I visited, I kept yelling, "I want a Mogwai" to be funny, and I finally got to Thailand and found it at the at Pantit Plaza at the the toy and collectible store all the way at the top at Pantit Plaza. And I didn't buy it because there was so much stuff up there I wanted to buy. There was like I told you, there was like a Miss Pac-Man arcade, and I couldn't buy it even though it was like cheap because I had nowhere to. I didn't want to pay to have it shipped over to the Philippines. So I was like, nah, and I definitely wasn't going to ship it to the to America. But even shipping it to the Philippines would have cost too much. So I was like, nah. Then I saw the mini arcades, the little the little handheld, not the handheld, but like the tabletop mini arcades. They had those. They had the old mini He-Man books. They had a whole bunch of stuff. So when I go back to Thailand, I'm definitely going back to Pantit Plaza just to go to that toy store. They had like comics, toys, collectibles, all that good stuff. Art, video games. um, and of course, I got my Pikachu and Snoopy. The Snoopy I got from my mom because her job when she worked at Social Security, they used to always give them those Snoopy stuffed animals. So I took one of them because she had a bunch of them. Uh, and the Pikachu I think was one of my even my niece and nephew, and they left it in the laundry room for like 10 years. So I just was like, I'm taking this. I took a bunch of their toys because their mom was just going to throw them away. So I'm like, I'm taking these. Carmen said I had those uh, little stuffed animals too. He said, you mean Fortune Tower, mostly electronics, but top floor is all action figures, arcades, Gundam models, games, and collectibles. I forgot the name. I saved the name on my phone, but I can't remember the name. But it's in Pantit Plaza, all the way at the top. Is I think the fifth. It's on the fifth floor. Brown man on the fifth floor. But yeah, I think it's like on the fifth floor in Pantit Plaza. Because Pantit Plaza is like the electronics mall or whatever. I think, yeah, because I used to get Pantit Plaza and MBK Mall confused, but no, it was Pantit Plaza. But anyway, so guys, um, this is gonna be, I think, a fun discussion. Like Saturdays, I usually try to talk about something fun, not something overtly political or contentious. Because I think some of the strong words I used yesterday's live stream got it demonetized. And I knew that was going to happen. At first, I thought it was going to happen just because I was doing the Lord of the Rings content. Um, but when I re-looked at the live stream, the replay of the live stream, I could barely hear a lot of the stuff that I was playing in the background. But I said a lot of strong stuff to some of the trolls, so that's probably what got it demonetized. But yeah. Oh well. He said MBK Top 4 is amazing now with arcades, escape rooms, and arcades. All animated collectibles. They changed up big on the top floor. So my discussion is basically my generation of hip hop is better than today's hip hop generation. Today's That's why I used the picture that I did of uh what's his name? Young Young Thug, I guess. More like Young uh Gag. That's what he ought to be called. And it's funny, Aaron Magruder predicted this again with the Boondocks when he came up with the when he had the rapper uh um what was his name? Thug uh the rapper in Boondocks came with the song Thug. What was it called? Gangster. What was it? Gangster Love or something like that. Thuglicious. No, it was Gangstalicious. The rapper's name was Gangstalicious, but he came up with a song called Thug and Love or something like that. He said, "You don't understand this, little man. This is Thug and Love." He's like, "You just gonna kiss him in his mouth like that with tongue?" Yeah, I was dying laughing. That show was funny. Aaron Magruder has predicted the future so many times in the Boondocks. It's not even funny. He predicted that these rappers are gonna go from are gonna we're gonna start being on some homo shit, and that happened. Yeah, there's always some little something, little yachty, young thug, something, something, something. Hey, Mahal. Mrs. Katrina is in the house, everyone. Now, Pimp Named Slickback was a different character. We're talking about the episode with the when they were talking about rappers, like rapping beef and stuff like that. But there was Gangsta. It was a what's the name? Gangstalicious. I think that was the name. Gangstalicious. What's up, Tim? And what's up, everyone else in the chat room? Um, Everyone say hi to Mrs. Contrarian. That is the wife of people who don't know, and some people who don't think she exists. Even though there's still people who call me an incel and stuff like that. Even though I literally had a wife going on almost 8 years now, and she's been on my channel multiple times, and she moderates when she can. Melissa says, yeah, Riley's hilarious too. When the nerdy dude was singing Usher in the Rain in his PJs. But yeah, so Aaron Magruder predicted this little celebration of like homo thuggery. I don't know what else to call it. Homo thuggery in the black community and in the hip hop world. He predicted this 20 years ago. Thanks, Carlton. Obviously, Mrs. Contrarian is going to. She's not a huge hip hop person. She listens to some hip hop, but luckily, she's not one of those people who. She's not one of those girls that listen to rap all day. I definitely want to date a chick that knows more about rap music than I do. That's just horrible. Oh, Mrs. Contrarian, I saw a Taylor Swift magazine at the supermarket, and I was thinking you might want it, but I thought you might, but then I didn't know if you already had it. Uh, if you have not picked up a recent Taylor Swift magazine, I can get it for you if you want. I mean, that's what she's into. She's a Swifty, guys. I literally would have no, not the first. The second time I went there, I bought her and her friends a whole bunch of CDs, and they were CD. The CDs were in a magazine. They were CD magazine. I've never seen a CD magazine before. Ms. Katrin says, "Hi, Moonlit. How are you and your wife?" So she said I don't really care much for magazines. Okay, all right, then never mind. I like magazines and stuff like that for but okay. Um, but yeah, so yeah, hip hop today sucks. Like not only are these rappers gay, I mean, and and I know at some point someone's gonna bring up Diddy, and I'm prepared for that conversation. Please go ahead and bring up Diddy. I don't care at all. That's fine with me. Mullen says 50 Cent, Busy Bone, and Jada Kiss was saying that Diddy stuff been happening in hip hop since the early '90s. Well, in the early 2000s, they kept talking about the gay rapper, and I remember all my friends and I kept trying to guess who they were talking about with the gay rapper. People tried to speculate on everyone. They said, "Oh, it might be Jay-Z. Oh, it might be Diddy, or it might be some some backpack rapper." And there actually has been a few like out of the closet like gay rappers today. But there was one guy who was around back then, so I'm guessing they were talking about him. I don't remember his name, but it remains to be seen because they could have been talking about Diddy. Um, Collins says hip hop today is bad, and I see some people trying to defend hip hop, saying, well, it's just a sign of being old that you criticize the newer music. It's like, no, we're not going to relativize that because yes, I do get that. Every generation says that the newer generation's music is worse than is not as good as theirs. So yeah, there's a little bit of that, but no, their rap has gotten qualitatively worse. It simply has, and I mean, if someone wanted to defend hip hop by today's hip hop by saying, "Look, even back in our day, most hip hop artists suck. It was just a few really good ones, and everyone else sucked." I would buy that argument because Chris Rock said that like a long time ago. He's like, "Look," he said, "hip hop for the most part has always sucked." He said it was like a few good people. Like you would go to the music store, and there was like a few people that you really like, and then pretty much everyone else sucked. And that's kind of true. The point today now is I can't even point to a rapper today that I would like actually spend money on. Not that I have. I mean, you don't even have to spend money, but to say that if I wanted to spend money, there's no one that I would want to actually put down money to pay to like. Only way I can see it is if like Nas and AZ came back and did a duet album, just Nas and AZ. That would be dope because Nas and AZ would probably retire these fools. I mean, if they decided to get back together and do like a duo, not duet. I'm sorry, duo. Do a duo. That that would be that would be that would be that would be lit. Moon says I think rap is going through its glam phase, like rock and roll did in the '70s and '80s. No, rap had its own glam phase in the '80s. Did you not see that little uh, shiny sus stuff that Dr. Dre was wearing back in the early '80s? Oh, hip hop had his glam phase. People like Shalimar and all these other you clearly don't remember how they used to dress in the early '80s. They were different, definitely on some fruity stuff. Put on my glasses here. Yeah, hip hop was already had their little glam phase back in the early '80s. Let me put this right here. I'm trying to open my fruit snacks for the past shit. I've been trying to open up my fruit snacks for the past 10 minutes. Mahal, look at my. Now I don't have to have the individual packs. Now I can just eat as many as I want because When I used to open up all the different packs, it made me feel guilty. But now that it's all in one pouch, I don't feel guilty. But I might have to use some examples. So I'm gonna go to YouTube, maybe play a few examples. I might have to turn this down. Maybe a little too loud. Ryan says you cannot relativize that at all. I know Ryan, but there's some people, there's some glazers to try to come along and say, "Oh, y'all just fuddy duddies. Y'all trying to say, today's music is bad just because that's what everyone does when they get old." Like, yeah, I get that, but no, I would say hip hop is relatively worse than it was in prior times. Like it hit its golden era in the early '90s. So I say that would be the golden era. But then it's relative because some people might say the golden era was the late '70s, early '80s, where the beginning of hip hop. They might say that was the golden era. Others might say it was the 2000s, only if you're a millennial. But um, but yeah, hold up. Let me turn this down so I can play some of these songs. Carden says, "No, my nephew is 20 years old, and even he said today's hip hop is trash." Yeah, like even the kids who defend it, like because one of my friends is an he teaches music, and he said he will play classic hip hop, well, what we call classic hip hop now, but just our era of hip hop. He will play classic hip hop in his classes. He said even the little kids was like, "Yeah, this music sounds better." So I mean, you got stuff like this, right? Yo, Teddy, you ready? You ready? Yo, let's put this together. Let all the girls out there know how we want to be fun. All right, that's enough. Not trying to get copyright. Melissa says I'm not hating on new music. I'm saying it's just evolving into trash. I still listen to Cassidy, J. Cole, Outkast, Jada Kiss, or anyone that has lyrics or tell a story. Fair enough. And Moonlit says Nas is top tier. GOAT status. LL Cool J, he still needs to trademark. He thinks it's too late because everyone uses the term that he can't trademark the term GOAT. He can still trademark the term. For some reason, what's his name? LeBron James trademarked some terms that he didn't even coin. Just whoever first does it first. I still need to trademark Rice Bunny because I actually coined the term. Carlton says Dr. Dre Houdini. Except yeah, tell him Carlton. Tell him how fruity they used to look in the early '80s. Hip hop already had his glam phase. You look at people like Houdini and Dr. Dre and some of them cats how they used to dress in the early '80s. Miss Contreras says, "Uh oh, what happened?" She said you'll burn it. Oh, Carter said you'll burn it all off in your next run, right? It wasn't the calories that was worrying me. It was the fact that I was overindulging, and I felt guilty that I was eating so many snacks. That's all. Carter says no more artist development, which part exactly. You actually, I wasn't gonna, yeah, I wasn't gonna get technical yet, but since you already brought it up, that's exactly part of the problem. See, one of the things is they actually separate the new artists from the old school artists. They don't want these they don't want these older artists coming in and developing these artists and teaching them how to get their paper. And the messed up thing is a lot of these newer artists make more money than the legends, so they disrespect them, saying, "Well, you guys call yourself legends, but you ain't making as much money as us, so I can't be as so we must be better," because they're equating the amount of money they're making to the quality of their music, and it's not the same. Obviously, like, uh, yeah, they might enjoy more financial success, but it'll be hard to remember some of these songs that's come out in the past. Except for a few songs, there's a few memorable songs that's come out um, in the past 20 years. But are they are these memorable songs that's going to get them into the Rock Hall of Fame? Very few rappers have made into the Rock Hall of Fame. LL Cool J, right? Uh, Biggie, Tupac, um, I believe Eminem and Wu Tang, uh, and I'm missing like two more people, but very few. Like, are you gonna have music that lives on, or are you just gonna have some quick club banger that'll be quickly forgotten? I mean, if you're just doing it for the paper, cool, whatever. But don't sit there and compare yourself to these legends. And again, some of these labels intentionally put division between the, these new artists and some of these hip hop legends who could um, who could actually guide them and make them better artists. And I've seen a few of them reach out to the young artists, but it's not enough. Like I seen, for instance, Busta Rhymes do something with Red something or other. I can't remember his name, but he actually did like because he, his classic song with Mariah Carey, "Baby, if you give it to me, I give it to you. You know what I want." And he had the girl in there who I was about to date in the army playing the chick he was going after in the video because she was a video vixen at the time. And he brought her back for the video he did with the new rapper. And in this video, it was like a sequel to that original music video where he was saying that the girl that Red, whatever his name is, was chasing was the daughter of the chick he was after back in the day. He's like, yeah, me and her mom just had this issue. He's, I need you to handle something for me. I remember the original one had, Mariah Carey, it had Michael Jai White in it, and it had my homegirl from the army, Heckert. But that's well, I think she calls herself. Uh, I mean, her name is Lashante Heckert, but I never called her by her. We never called each other by our first names in the army. She called me by my last name. I called her Heckert. Um, but I think professionally she would call herself Tay because her first name was Lashante, and she was like half black, half Korean. That's what, you can see why I liked it, right? um, I call this Outcast. Yeah, I was on Outcast when they first came out back in 1991. So 91, yeah, 91 or 92. I was on Outcast, and I saw them perform on my on my alma mater for the we have an annual spring music concert, and we have like all the biggest artists come. We were supposed to have, so it's now legendary now that we were supposed to. This is a quick aside. It was now kind of legendary that we were supposed to have Jay-Z performed there back in 2001. I think it was 2001. It was either 2001 or 2002. But whenever um the song, well, the album, the Blueprint came out, H to the Izzo, he actually did a song where he was making fun of University of Maryland. He said H to the Izzo, you know, for Rizzo. He said, how the song used to go? H to the Izzo, something something. He said I was herbing them in the home of the Terrapins. He said something something. They were short with cheese. I would work with them because so at the time they were considering having Jay Z perform, but they were saying he was too expensive, and if they brought him, then they wouldn't have money to have other artists because they like to have. They will always have like several artists performing for our what we call it, the art attack. And I even talked to people uh, that worked in that part of the on that part of the university called S. They call themselves SEE, student entertainment something or other. And I was like, why didn't y'all get Jay Z? They was like, but he costs too much. They was like, we wouldn't have had money for any other artist. I was like, if you had Jay Z, you wouldn't need any other artist. And they were like, yeah, I guess. I was like, y'all fucked up. And I was like, he wrote a song about it now. So now we're always going to be in a song for him almost performing on campus, and y'all couldn't get it. But yet, guys, if you think if you know, if if you think I'm lying, listen to the song H to the Izzo. He literally says, I was herbing them in the home of the Terrapins. He said they was short with cheese. I would work with them. All that stuff. He was talking about that. So Moon said, top older hip hop, no order. It's Jadakiss, Method Man, Nas, Outkast, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Rakim, Tupac, DMX, Lil Wayne, EPMD, Onyx, Cypress Hill, Twisted, Jay Z, Biggie. I mean, there's a lot of them. Good name. Right. Let me play something else. I'm gonna just be playing little stuff, little snippets here and there when it's not interrupted by when it's not interrupted by commercials. But I'd be hard pressed to name people who came out now. And this, I mean, and then you got these drill rappers who sit there and just snitch on themselves, and they die like every other day. Maybe then every other day they're like rest in peace to so and so. I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? Like, they stupid anyway. So, um,
Yo, Paul, man, I'm tired, bro. Yo, man, I think I'm gonna have a strip again, dude. Damn. Here's that food. I like it, juice me. I know you can do it. Yo, Shine, what up, man? Yo, man, I know something. Listen, we just changing up a little bit. I ain't wearing these crazy pants no more.
see, I just
No more Jerry curl juice for me.
I said no more Jerry Curl juice for me. This is funny. This is full force. If you ever watched the original House Party, that was the song when they started getting it in to the song "Ain't My Type of Hype." So, yep. I just don't think I don't think anything can mess. And I'll be even more specific. The best era of hip hop, the very best era, was the New Jack Swing era. New Jack Swing era was from, I'm going to say, from like 88 to 96. That was the best era of hip hop. That was the coolest. Like they had the most swag. The music was off the, all the music was off the chains, right? I know they don't say that anymore, but um, the New Jack Swing era from 88 to like 96 was the best stuff. And when I say hip hop, I'm not just saying rap. I'm also including like R&B that was um, hip hop laden. Kendall says, I don't know who that is. He's referring to. Um, so after that it became hip hop. No, oh hip hop. I get it. So in any case, our like I said, the classic hip hop is just better than today because today, as was already suggested, there's very little artist development. Um, all the music sounds the same. My nephew will listen to stuff and it all sounds jury. Like it all sounds like a bunch of junkies just yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's that's what it sounds like. It sounds horrible. Like there's no like they if you don't have lyrics, you gotta at least have beats. And if you don't have beats, you gotta have lyrics. But you gotta have one or the other, if preferably both. But when you have neither lyrics nor beats, it just sounds horrible. And the best real rappers are underground or independent. Maybe back in the day, but nah. Rap is completely uh it's completely market driven nowadays. One says lean and pill pop and mumble rap is garbage, it's like Sad Boy Summer or something. Poet says kill kills all today's music is. I don't even know, is that a person or is that a genre of rap? I don't know what kill kill is. He's ever got to mention Redman and Raekwon and Ghostface. Yeah. And again, this is not old man beat up on young people music. That's not it. Like I'm saying this, the music is qualitatively worse. Like if a young person can put something hot out, I'm all for it. Like, but it just sounds a lot of it just sounds like trash. I mean, ever since Nas says hip hop was dead back in 2005, he wasn't lying. He said the frequency of hertz changed the music. Part of the reason why it sucks. Is that why it sounds so like the way the I don't know how to describe it, but like I said, when my nephew's listening to it, it's like, that sounds horrible. Poses too much violence. Well, no, I can't say that because we had we had seriously violent music back in the '90s. I'm not so I'm not. That's one thing I'll defend the younger generation on. I'm not going to say that music is more violent because there's way too much stuff I heard in the '90s that was ultra violent. Um, Mullen says, "Oh, I agree. We're not knocking on the music. We're just saying it's evolving." He said, "No message, no more like DMX or Pac." Yeah, that's part of it. But I mean, we do have. They're not new artists, but I would say they are newer artists who've been out in the past 13 years. J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. I would say they have they have a message behind the music, but they're in the minority, of course. He says real life now, not like the '90s. What? You haven't listened to '90s music. Gangster rap used to be, it used like they used to call it reality rap. So that's not true that it's real life now. Unlike the '90s was very you're I don't know what you're referring to in the '90s. You must be you're thinking of you're thinking of that that little party rap stuff from the South. That's not how it was on the West Coast and East Coast. It was very realistic and grounded. So I don't know where you're getting that the music today is more realistic. That's not at all true. The, Here's the thing. Back in the day, the real the dudes who really were living that life didn't talk about it. The guys today get into the music business and then they start committing crimes to get street credibility. So it's not more realistic today. The guys who actually were in that life downplayed that life. You'd be surprised how many dudes were in life back in the day, but they didn't really talk about it. I mean, you had people who was considered very commercial and hip, and very commercial and very pop music. MC Hammer. MC Hammer was in those streets. People didn't even know that. MC Hammer was in those streets back in Oakland. He put a hit out on another on another rapper on the rappers from Third Base, MC Search, and Prime Minister. He put a hit on them. If they came to the West Coast, he would have them whacked because he thought they talked about his mother. MC Hammer used to hang out with Suge Knight. MC Hammer was in that life, but you wouldn't know that because he didn't portray that lifestyle in his music. LL Cool J was in them streets. Eric B. and Rakim were in those streets. And gangster raps, like I said, it started back in the late 80s with Schoolie D from Philadelphia. He invented gangster rap. Even though everyone thought it started with NWA, it started with Schoolie D in Philly, and then NWA made gangster rap more widespread. Melissa says, I love Yellow Wolf and Jelly Roll. I don't know who those are. I don't know who they are. I'm not even trying to be funny. I really don't know who they are.
What matters most to you.
Oh, wrong music. Just saying. He's not a Kendrick fan, but he's amazing. I mean, I like him. Not all his songs, but he's an amazing artist. And lyrically, not too many people can f with him from the past or today. Even Eminem said he wouldn't want to he wouldn't want to go against Kendrick. I don't know why the fuck Drake thought he had a chance. I don't know what made Drake. I don't know what Drake was drinking on to make him think he could go against Kendrick. And then he tried to say Kendrick isn't even really in that life when everyone knows that man is Pyru. Like he's literally from Compton. He's literally Pyru. He literally had he literally had his associates with him in an interview once, and he was like, and the interviewer was like, "Yo, these guys really and such and such." He's like, he just kind of laughed it off. He's like, "Yeah, ha ha ha." Like I said, the people who are really living that life don't glamorize it. That's how you know people are full of shit. This so-called reality rap of today ain't real. Those niggas aren't real. They're not really in that life. The ones who are really in that life are these drill rappers, and then they tell on themselves. or some of them, they get a music deal and then they start committing crimes to boost their street credibility. That's retarded. Sorry. Not sorry. Let me say y'all not messing with the YNs. They killing mom and kids. Killing kids. Dude, that's not new. You're obviously a young person. If you think that's new, you don't know anything. The 90s was the most violent era in America, aside from wars. Like leaving aside the many wars we were in, the 90s was the most violent era. Why do you think they passed the 1994 crime bill and started calling black men super predators? That didn't happen today. The violence of today does not look at the crime stats. If you don't believe me, people aren't gonna believe me. Look at the You don't have to believe me. Look at the federal crime stats. There's a downward trajectory when you look at like the air like crime, but then it's shot up during the 90s, and it's been coming back down ever since. It's gone up a little bit, but it's still not as high as the crime rate in the 90s. So I don't. You're clearly a millennial or Gen Z if you think today is more violent than the 90s. That's, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to roast you. I'm not trying to diss. But you're wrong. The 90s was one of the most violent eras in America's history. When you're talking about uh, violent crime, this whole just because y'all calling YNs, that's not a new thing. That's just a new term for little thug niggas. It, There's nothing new. You can call them Pookie and Ray Ray. You can call them YNs. You can call them thugs, like they used to call us, or super predators. This is just a new term for an old phenomenon within the urban community. So much so that even Thomas Sowers talked about this in a book he wrote like 30 years ago called Black Rednecks, White Liberals. Check it out. Black Rednecks, White Liberals. This is not a new phenomenon. This is not about drugs, it's about catching hats. Okay. Whatever you say, bro. Carlson said Schoolie is tame compared to this drill music we have now. Yeah, I'm not saying Schoolie D was the raunchiest of rappers, at least especially not by today's standards. I'm just saying he was the found. I'm just saying Schoolie D was the founder of gangster rap, but it got more profane under NWA. That's why people thought NWA started it, and they didn't. Matter of fact, they used to say we don't call they NWA used to always say, well, we don't do gangster rap, we do reality rap. Listen to them in any interview. They used to always say, well, we don't do gangster rap, we do reality rap. So Carlton says Gen X were the best rappers, artists, and entertainers. Big Steve says City of Compton. Shout out. What's up, Agatha? Carlton says the 90s were the fruit of the 80s crack era. Yeah, like I'm saying, the, the late 80s and the 90s were the crack era. So I'm saying, so all y'all talking about, oh, well, it's worse today with the YNs. No, it's not. No, it's not. You either, so to say it's worse now with the YNs today, you're either a young person who's never seen how bad it was in the 90s, or you're an old person who's looking back nostalgically onto the 90s, not forgetting how bad it was back then. The 90s was bad. I mean, especially if you lived either in the Northeast, somewhere between Boston and DC, if you lived in the Midwest between Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Gary, or if you lived in the West Coast from Oakland to LA, it was bad. It was it was very dangerous during them times. If I had to choose the violence of today or the violence of the 90s, I would choose today. I'm sorry. Today is safer than it was in the 90s. Like I said, if you don't realize, if you can't see that today is safer than the 90s, again, either you weren't living back then in that era, or you're an older person who's looking back nostalgically on that time because you survived out of it, or you didn't live in those urban areas, because the 90s was way worse. And it's not something to brag about. Honestly, I'm not bragging about it, but it was worse. And it seems the dope dealing and crack and heroin, um, the drug dealers of the 90s and the 80s and the 2000s have led to an era of a bunch of people being junkies today. What's up, JR the boss? Um, so it looks like we went from it being cool to be drug dealers to it went to it becoming cool to be junkies. Like a lot of these rappers today are junkies. And they brag and they sing about it in their songs. Like, when was it cool to talk about being a junkie? Like Molly Percocet, Polly Merc. Like what? Like why are you bragging about being a getting high and being a junkie? Like, I'm sorry, not sorry, but that's whack.
Listing your vacation rentals on booking.com.
Try to find some more music, guys. Going all through this stuff. Tag these commercials. Carden says in the 90s, you would get your snot box rocked over a starter jacket. Signed camel voice. Right. People didn't know. Like I said, they don't, Carlson, they don't know how much safer it is today. Like, you, it's like you had to be scared. Like, you will want to wear, I'm glad I didn't wear nice clothes. Other than I used to have a really nice leather jacket I bought from my first job. And I bought like a little Cuban link necklace. That's when the bitches started jocking me. So, but man, I didn't really wear nice stuff. I'm glad I didn't, because you would likely get robbed or killed for it. People don't know how many people got robbed for their Jordans back in the day, and like you said, over a starter jacket. They're like, that's a nice starter jacket. That's a nice starter jacket right there, son. I said, what size is that? It's, oh yeah, just my size. Why don't you let me put that on, Playboy? You had to be ready to throw hands at any given moment if you wore nice clothes. People don't know. Like, yeah, people will rob you for your jewelry and all that sort of stuff today as well. But like I said, people don't know when that's the starter jacket, those Jordans, even the flights. I think the flights. I think that's the flights are what are now what they call the Air Force Ones. But the flights, if you have flights or Jordans on, you might get robbed. Starter jacket, you might get robbed. Triple fat goose, you might get robbed. The Pelly Pelly might get robbed. Shh, I don't even know. The fitted cap with the tag still on it might get robbed. Telling you. Steven Kyle, what's up? He says you can obviously tell the 90s were worse by the number of Gen X people killing the new generation. Uh, what you mean killing the new generation? Like everyone, Steve, everyone who's Gen X now are in their late 40s to are either between their late 40s or late 50s. I'm Gen X. I'm in my late 40s. Everyone like and if you look at And if you look at, I'm not trying to be nerdy here, but I am a nerd. But if you look at um, crime behavior, people usually age out of crime. This is why there's people who in the justice reform movement think that, you know, life sentences shouldn't be natural life anymore. It should be like how it used to be in some places where life meant 25 years to, you know, instead of your actual natural born, like your whole natural life. Because most people age out of crime by the time they hit like uh about like 35, 40, right? And there's no, there's very few men, you know, of Gen X. Like I said, because Gen X, the youngest Gen X is going to be 45. 'Cause that's 1980, and the oldest is going to be, I believe, 60, because 65, right? 1965 to 1980s Gen X. So everyone in Gen X is between 45 and 60. Okay. And they have all aged out of violent crime. Like if they're committing crime today, it'll be more like uh, quality of life type crimes, right? Not violent crime. So they're not killing the newer generation. The newest generation is Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha are literally kids. There's no one there. There's no like statistical data showing that there are middle aged men going out unaliving kids from Gen Alpha. Or if you're talking about Gen Z, again, there's not statistical data demonstrating that there are a bunch of middle-aged men, which is what Gen X is, going out and and harming and unaliving people from Gen Z. That's not supported by any statistical data that I have seen. Because believe me, if that was the case, it would be all over the news. Like, look, you know, they would be saying all sorts of stuff about us. Like the same generation, we told y'all they would be bad because they grew up on that uh they grew up on that heavy metal and on that gangster rap music, and here they are, still in their 40s and 50s out there hurting people. Like that would be all over the news. So that's not the case. I thankfully, right? We don't need a bunch of old people, middle aged people out there still causing harm to the community. We got enough of the young people doing that. Russell says they promote drugs because they sell it. No, no, the younger generation promotes drugs because they use it. That's different. Like I said, it was the Gen X folks who sold it. And they talked about it like Biggie had the 10 crack commandments. He literally had a whole song on how to build a drug empire. They call it the 10 crack commandments. One. Like, shoot, I might have to play a snippet of that now. Y'all gonna make me play a snippet of that. There was never a video to it, but I don't need the I don't need the video. It'll just play the song. Joe says that's the weirdness of people. Bad is good, good is bad. Satan's greatest power to bend and twist equals confusion and acceptance of wrong.
Cocktails. Perfectly mixed. Got one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the 10 crack commandments.
So yeah. Actually, I might sit. Actually, I liked how this was sitting right here. I might. Yeah, I think keep this right here. Then I have to scroll. Mm. Carlton says, I remember guys would align their foot with yours to see if you had, yeah, right. Carlton knows, Carlton knows. They will put your foot right up, right next to yours. Like I said, I never, I didn't wear expensive sneakers until I was already over the age of 18. So I did, by that time, I was living in the DC suburbs. So I didn't have to worry about that because no one was robbing people in Montgomery County, Maryland, because everyone could afford that sort of stuff in Montgomery County, Maryland. That's literally where one of the real houses, the real wives of Potomac. That's Potomac's like one of the most expensive areas in Montgomery County. So that's why they have the real housewives of Potomac. JL says, "What's a nerd?" He said, "What's a?" Is that a genuine question, or you just want to know my definition of it? My, I pretty much stick with the dictionary usage, which is generally it refers to someone who's either um, a smart person, someone who's either smart or someone who has an affinity for academic subjects. So that's generally a nerd. But the term is used so loosely nowadays. Nowadays, people say nerd just to mean anything, anytime someone has like an interest, like like a really strong interest in something that makes them a nerd. But that's not. I use it in its original sense, the way we were teased for it. You got teased if if you showed that you were smart. You were teased if you showed that you liked school. So, um, Agnes says, I heard my mom say that her mother never let her go out with friends at night. Smart. She said my grandmother always sewed her clothes. No, like I said, I would get I would get clothes every year during the school year because it was. I remember some of the broke kids. They'd be like, "Man, I don't need to get." They was like, "That's lame getting clothes during the school year." And I didn't want to say anything, but I'm like, "Y'all just saying that because y'all broke." Like, nope. Like, who's gonna turn down getting new school clothes? That's, they was like, "Y'all." I'm just like, "Y'all just saying that because y'all broke." Like, at least I could get school clothes every year, but they weren't. But like I said, I didn't get those top of the line brand name stuff that everyone was wearing. But I did get clothes. Like my father would take me to Sears. Was it Sears or J.C. Penney's? I believe it was either Sears or J.C. Penney. I can't remember which. I think it was Sears though, or I can't remember. But he would just say, "Get what you want." So I would just buy a bunch of stuff up at J.C. Penney. When I needed sneakers, they took me to Foot Locker or Charlie Rudo's, which is a place here only in the Baltimore area. It's no longer around, but it's a place called Charlie Rudo's. We go there, Foot Locker, or sometimes, look, some of us went to Payless. Hey, going to Payless and getting sneakers was better than not having any sneakers at all or wearing stuff that got holes in them. So there was times I wore Pro Wings. Sometimes I wore Pro Wings. A lot of us did. Um, but you know, you might get teased, but at least no one, you don't have to worry about anyone trying to steal your clothes, steal your shoes, steal your clothes. Oh, this is Jen Alpha at home watching Cocomelon and Baby Shark. Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what the guy was even talking about saying Gen X is killing the new generation. That doesn't even make sense. Like the new generation are literally just kids, Gen Alpha. Like I said, there's no middle-aged men going out unaliving kids. Because that'll be all over the news that a bunch of middle-aged men are out there unaliving kids. That's just not true. Like we know that the most violent cohort are males between the ages of 15 to 30. That is the most violent cohort. Men between the ages of 15 and 30. So Carlton says, see, Dolores Tucker was low key right about hip hop to an extent and where it will lead to. Well, she was wrong because she was trying to say it would cause the violence. Hip hop was, and and Thomas Sowell says that too. Like he says, like hip hop music leads to like. So I'll say this in defense of both Thomas Sowell and C. Dolores Tucker. Hip hop music glorified degeneracy in the black community, but it did not create it. It existed before hip hop. Like before hip hop music, the ghetto was not a better place. I'm sorry. There was no crack before hip hop. Hip hop did not create crack. I mean, before then, the hoods were flooded with heroin. I mean, have people not seen what's that movie with Denzel when he plays the the protege of Bumpy Johnson, or see the older movie Harlem. Was it the movie with Lawrence Fishburne where he plays a younger Bumpy Johnson, and they used to they flooded the hood with heroin. Are you gonna blame the music then? There was no hip hop back then. Who they gonna blame? Billie Holiday? Like to say the music is a causal factor, I don't buy that. The music amplifies what's already just amplifies the degeneracy already there. At best, it amplifies the degeneracy. But obviously, it can't be the music itself because by the time you got to the late 90s and early 2000s, it was more white people buying hip hop music than black people. Again, check the stats. If you look at the album sales of most of the hip hop recording artists from the late 90s to today, it was more white people buying it was more white kids buying hip hop than black kids. So if the hip hop music led to degeneracy itself and violence, then it should have been an uptick of violence in these white suburbs, but that didn't happen because the music doesn't cause it. It's sort of like people blaming violence on video games, and that's been thoroughly debunked in behavioral research. Steven said, "What's the argument?" Um, Not an argument per se. I mean, I could craft an argument, but the claim is today's hip hop sucks compared to classic hip hop. When I say classic hip hop, I'm referring to everything before 2006. Harden says, I remember being dumb was cool back in the day. Oh, it still is. Being smart did not become appealing in schools today. It's just they don't say nerd anymore. They call them squares. They say you being a square or a lame. But you go to those correctional facilities. You go to those um, those state and federal prisons. You're gonna see the inmates in there talking about, man, y'all need to be squares. There's like, go ahead and be a square, be a lane. Don't be cool like us. Go ahead and be a square in the lane. That's what them inmates will tell you. I guess is my mom always telling me and my sister scary things that used to happen in her time. I guess why both of us are homebodies. most of the girls I knew were homebodies. I rarely saw girls like walking around. Well, no, that's not true. In the hood, I saw girls walking around all the time, but around my way, which was a little bit nicer, I rarely saw girls like walking out. Like the only time I saw girls outside was like coming from school. Like if they were coming from school, that's the only time I saw girls outside. But other than that, they were always inside. One said, "Sorry, I had a phone call. I'm back. Did I miss anything?" No. And she said, he says, "Hi, Ms. Contrarian." Ellie said, "Hi, and we doing much better now. Thank you for asking too." I think she left Moonlit. Um, I don't know, is Mrs. Contrarian still here? Carter says those pro wings and pro kids were fire, in my opinion. Yeah, the funny thing is, if you set aside the fact that you were gonna get clowned just because they were pro wings or the kids or whatever, they were look, those were pretty well made sneakers. Like as an adult now, I would go to Payless shoe store to buy my running shoes because they were well put together. Like it was no reason to spend $200 on sneakers when I could go to Payless and buy like some $20 sneakers, less than that sometimes, and they last just as long. Besides that, like I had to constantly replace. You guys know I run every day, so I had to constantly replace my sneakers like every 2 to 3 months. It didn't make sense to go out and buy $200 sneakers that had to be replaced every 2 to 3 months. Could I afford it? Yes, but did I want to? No. That's a waste of money. Just to have my Nike, I mean, just to have my running shoes have the Nike swoosh. No one cares. I'm running like every day. I mean, I, by the time I break them in, like they're not gonna be worth like walking around in anymore. So why would it matter? So those Payless sneakers were good. And I didn't realize it as an adult how good those sneakers were because I devalued them for the fact that back then as a kid they weren't Nikes or Reeboks. I sometimes had nice shoes, but when I did have the nice shoes, they came from a discount store. So I would get like the British night, like remember BK's British Knights, or the sometimes some Reeboks. I don't believe I ever had Nikes as a kid. Did I? If I did, they were like the old, like they were like a really older, they were like a really older model of sneaker of Nike sneakers. If I had Nike, but I rarely had Nikes as a kid. And like I said, when I did get the name brand sneakers, it was always from like a discount store. Roland says, "Bro, it was J.C. Penney or hand me downs for us, even if it didn't fit." I never. Well, I was the only male, so I didn't have any hand me downs. But like I said, being that I had both my mom and dad. What's up, Kat? She's Catherine G is back in the house, guys. Um, but being that I had like my mom and dad, like I said, my dad would take me um school shopping every summer. But like I said, I just didn't appreciate it because like he was taking me to like J.C. Penney, and I felt like that was like all the clothes there was generic, even though they had good stuff at J.C. Penney. So Carlos says, "Thank you, Frank Lucas, for your service and silly the black community." Well, I'm gonna say this. I think most of the stuff that was in that movie about Frank Lucas was frankly I think it was cap. I think a lot of stuff in that movie was cap. I don't think that was real. In real life, Nicky Barnes was bigger than Frank Lucas. They made Nicky Barnes look like he was nothing compared to Frank Lucas in that movie, where it was more the opposite in real life. Nicky Barnes was the bigger deal in Harlem than Frank Lucas. So I was kind of that, yeah. Ulysses can't blame music for making and delivering drugs, glorifying, yeah, but bring down all different communities. He said, no, those are three-letter name government entities and big pharma too. Yeah, I wasn't going to even get into that, but yes, we know that the CIA did have a hand in fueling the crack epidemic in America to use them as they were using they were making geopolitical moves at the time, and they didn't mind destroying the black community in the process of doing so. So yeah, he said one was Billy Joel told y'all we didn't start the fire. That's so old. Artists is a lame and square made the social media platforms that these cool kids are using. Right. Now there are some kids today that know that being a nerd is actually the success. Like the nerds become a successful one. And this is something my parents used to say back to me back in the 80s. Like the nerds are the ones who are gonna be the wealthy ones. The the cool kids are gonna be the ones pumping your gas. They tried to warn me. I didn't listen. Um and like because I was a nerd and then I kept my grades slipped because I was trying too hard to be cool when I once I reached high school. But uh what? He said fentanyl and meth and Diddy's 2C mixture, add that to the oxys and lean and opioid addictions, it's a mess. But okay. um yeah, like I said, there's always been a drug problem in the hood. It's just changed, went from, like I said, went from like heroin to um it went from heroin and and powder cocaine um to you know crack, and now it's mostly opioids like fentanyl and stuff like that. Thank you, Baby Yaga. Agla says hi to Catherine. Moonlit, are you sober? He said Ozempic or whatever the weight loss stuff is, and Adderall for those who don't need it is horrible too. Well, Adderall is usually given to people with like ADHD or um, I think there's another usage of Adderall. I think it can sometimes be prescribed for the. I'm gonna say maybe depression, maybe, but I'm not sure because there's a lot of overlap between ADHD and clinical depression. And as I've also addressed this in a previous video, I think ADHD is not legit. I think it's more of a social contagion because the 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 criteria for ADHD is a little too vague compared to some of the more better known mental illnesses out there. Carter says I got me a couple of vintage AVS shoes I bought last year. That's what's up. They have a wicked shoe game in the Philippines for you guys that don't know. Like they are all about like they are all about that sneaker life. Matter of fact, not just Filipinos, Asians in general. A lot of them are straight up sneaker heads, man. I'm not. I tried to be like back like around 2004, 2005. I tried to get into like I tried to have like my sneaker game going where my I'm at school and I got like 10 like I got like 10, a line of like 10 different shoes under my bed. Excuse me. And like I remember living in a frat house and one of the white guys came in. He's like, dude, he said, you got a nice sneaker game there. I'm like, thank you. Because, you can see my whole row of shoes. from one end of the bed to the other. So, like I said, I didn't get into. I wasn't all about sneakers and stuff like that until I could afford it as an adult. And so it was like when I got into college, that's when I started rocking nice shoes and stuff. But until then, in high school, in middle school, elementary school, I was like, my eyes bugged out uh, by the time I'm like an adult and I see baby Jordans. I'm like, baby Jordans? I was like, oh, ain't no way. I said, shit, I can't even afford them now. I was like, they got baby Jordans. Melissa's bro is always my cousin's hand me down clothes, sneakers. Was he said was J.C. Penney, or once every few years I get some Reeboks or Nikes at Foot Locker or clothes, and toys from Sears Christmas catalog. He said if you remember those days, yeah. He said again I don't hate on the newer generation's music, but can't listen to Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande or techno stuff either. Well, techno is old. Techno came out in like the late '90s. Like, yeah, techno's been around since the mid '90s. I couldn't stand it back then. I don't even see. I don't even hear people listening to techno anymore. That's old. Tech like even Eminem said back 20 years ago. He says nobody listens to techno. like techno died back in like the late 2000s. Like it's still around, but people aren't going to like techno. People aren't going to the clubs to bump techno music anymore like that. That's kind of that died out with the 2000s, maybe the early 2010s at best. Ariana Grande, I like her, like just because I think she's sexy, but Ariana Grande can get it. I'm sorry. Taylor, I mean, my wife loves her, so I'm tired of leaning, so I'm back this way. Take my little Batman. All right. It's a nerdy is cool now. All the big box office movies are stuff from our generation that we wish came out back then. Well, just because they got better, they have better, they have better special effects today now than they had back in the 80s and 90s. Most of the special effects in the 80s and 90s were practical effects instead of like using digital effects. They have better digital effects today than they did back then. But there's still something. But a movie that has good practical effects is always to me gonna be better than one that relies just on purely digital effects. This is why a lot of people still dislike the Star Wars prequels because it over relied on uh, digital effects. So the movie doesn't it comes off like it's all like in a computer, like it's all behind it, done behind a green screen. Melissa is very sober, 17 days and count, just geeked up on coffee. Okay, that's what's up. Melissa is very true. Asians are beast mode on sneakers and hip hop clothes and dancing. Yeah, like I said, Filipino, they are all about the sneakers and stuff. Mm, I haven't played any music in a while. I mean, since we've been talking about this, let me get back to that. Um, what would I want to play?
Here's what we're talking. USDA choice ribeye.
Says techno transformed into dubstep. Oh yeah, that's true. Miss Contreras' moment. Maybe you could give.
The lowest prices.
Oh boy, here she go, guys. She's gonna give Taylor Swift a chance. If you like rap, maybe you'll like some songs from her Reputation album. It's my favorite album of hers. The production on her Midnight's album is also fire. Miss Contreras, what you know about fire? She's over that's fire. What you know about fire, Miss Contrarian? She been listening to me too much. No, what was the baby? What was this? What was her album in 2015? Remember I told you I really liked that one. Like I told you when I went to this Christmas party at work. We went to this bar. I think it was like a bar slash bowling alley or something like that. And they pretty much were playing her whole album. And I was like, yo, this is Taylor Swift. I was like, this sounds like a hip hop album. I'm like, I've with this. But this was like 2015. Like, well, we were listening to it in 2016. So I don't know if it came out in 2016 or in 2015. But it sounded like a lot of like most of the music was produced by hip hop producers. I was like, because I was telling my friend Travis at the time, I was like, yo, this is Taylor Swift. But I was like, yo, I fuck with this. He's like, I know, right? She's laughing. Moon says, yeah, Jaws was animatronic, so it's Hoggle from Labyrinth. Most Jurassic Park originals too, Yoda too. Um, I think Yoda was a mixture of handheld and animatronics from the original trilogy, not from the prequels. Like like I said, some of the stuff from that era still stands today. Jurassic Park, which was in '93, um, Gremlins from '84 still stands pretty well. The effects from Return of the Jedi in '83, uh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle from the '90s, but it's because a lot of this was through Jim Henson. Not Jurassic Park, but a lot of other stuff was from Jim Henson, and he was like top of the line when it came to like practical effects sort of stuff like that. Miss Gutierrez says her 1989 album released in 2014. Wait, so she didn't have anything she released in 2015 or 2016? I was gonna say it was the December party of 20. Wait, no. Hold on. It, yeah, I started working in that. Yeah, I started working at that place in 2015. Yeah, I started working at that place in January 2015. So it was yeah. So you're probably right. So it was December of 20. It was December of 2015 that I heard it, not December 2016. I'm sorry. So I guess that was her 2014 album from 1989. And I was like, I was surprised because I thought Taylor Swift was like country music. I didn't know her music back then. So it's 2015. I thought Taylor Swift was like all like country pop music. Excuse me. He said that's when she went full on pop. Guys, if I get her talking about Taylor Swift, she's not gonna stop. Secretary said that could be reputation you're talking about though. None in 2015, 2016. She released Rep in 2017. Okay, so it had to be her album in 2014 because my Christmas party, now that I remember correctly, was in 2015. Okay, because I started working at that place in January 2015. So the Christmas party was in Christmas of 2015. So it had to be her 2014 album. Okay. And Melissa says, Ms. Contrarian, I'm not hating her music. I just low key prep preppy looking white, tall, skinny, overly pretty girls. I respect her though. I I think he's saying he dislike just. I think he's saying that low key dislike preppy looking white girls. Okay. He said, "Oh, good. I like Pink better and Christina Aguilera, etc., etc." Trigger says, "Wait, 21 Savage." I don't get it. When you guys put stuff in there, you make a full sentence. I don't know what to say. I think 21 Savage is whack. I think he need to go back to fucking Britain. I know he said he came here as a kid, but he's whack. I'm sorry. He's whack. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. He's just whack. And that little duo he did with Drake. 21, can you do something for me? 21, 21, 21. Ugh, fuck out of here. Whack ass shit. He's not. Melissa says, hey, I listen to K-pop girl music, 2 and 1, Blackpink, etc. He said, I'm obsessed with them. He said, are you 21 Savage? You look like him. No, I think that's your mother you confusing me with. Anyway, Robert says, hey, brother, it's been a while. What's up, Robert? Echo says, hello from Oklahoma. Secretary says, I don't like K-pop music. Oh, yeah, yeah, Moonlit, she doesn't like K-pop. It's kind of a good thing. She's not, mo- most Filipinos are obsessed with K-pop and K-drama. She's not. She says they're like manufactured human Barbies to me. I mean, they are. I mean, they go through a lot of cosmetic surgery. Um, when they sign these deals, some of them sign these deals like while they're still like adolescents, and they go through like years of training before they release an album. Like they go through years of training of how to talk, how to talk, how to dance, how to sing. It's like they go. It's like basically they're going through like a K-pop boot camp when they sign these deals over there in South Korea. Like they are heavily manufactured, like like the music. But despite all that, I still rock with BTS. I'm not going to even front. I rock with BTS. They put out they be putting out some dope stuff. And the reason why some of the K-pop sounds so good is because they've actually have hip hop producers behind a lot of the producers behind the boy bands here in America of the 90s went to went to South Korea and are and are there um, developing helping developing the artists out there. That's why it's a lot of it sounds like the boy band era of America in America from the 2000s and the 90s, from the 99 and 2000s. Rob says I don't really listen to hip hop. Any suggestions? Uh, I'll let other people suggest for you because I would say if you never got into it, no point in doing it now. But I like nowadays I only listen to it when I work out, and hearing hip hop blaring over the speakers in a Muay Thai gym or MMA gym is lit. Like when you know when you sitting there doing your drills or you sparring and you hear some Fetty Wap, yeah, I want you to be mine again, baby. Eh. Like people be getting into like, oh, matter of fact, let's play that. I mean, just for a few seconds. I can't really play, you know.
You can read.
But yeah, when I'm listening to hip hop when I'm working out, is lit.
I'd say Governor Moore is doing it.
Wait, is Fetty Wap out of prison, guys? I see an official video from 2 weeks ago. I don't. Is he out of jail? I don't even know what he did, but I know he's been locked up for a minute.
Elio, skipping school. You need to make friends.
He's actually have a top 10 wackest rapper list
Away
like we
from
do with
life,
the best
forced
rapper
to
list.
find a place
That would
to
be
fit
hard
in.
because there's no way you're gonna start. I know someone who needs to be on there. Definitely is if you hear this in the MMA gym, Muay Thai gym, you know it's about to go down. You hear this? So I rock with that. If you hit at an MMA gym, it's going down. It's lit. Because for some reason they love blaring hip hop in the. I don't know if any of you train in MMA or Muay Thai. They love blaring like hip hop. Like it probably helps you get through some of the drudgery, to be honest. But like, man, people start hitting harder than they supposed to. um, says Egos, Future, 21 Savage, Lil Xan, Young Thug, and every one of that Carlton way. Um, anyone that Eminem dissed in that album a few years ago is probably a good good to add to that list. But like I said, it'd be hard to make a wackest list because, to be honest, there's been more whack rappers than there's been good rappers, and that's even back in the day. There's always been more whack rappers than good rappers. Even in the height, even in the golden era of hip hop, it was always been more artists who suck than artists that were good. It falls into that what's the Pareto rule, the 70-30 rule. Like 70% of the stuff is going to be trash and 30% is good. Although I think for hip hop, that's quite generous to say 30% is good. And nowadays, I would say it would be generous to say 10% of it is good. I would give it at best 5%, at best. Colin says I agree. I mean, but like I said, one of the guys who has to make the list is Master P's younger brother, Silk the Shocker. I think he's the godfather of all the rap that sucks today. He's the godfather of mumble rap because he couldn't. That Silk the Shocker couldn't rhyme to save his life. Like the best song he ever did was with Maya. And he still couldn't rap in that. The only reason the song was good was because of the beat and because of Maya. But he sucked. Like Silk the Shocker fucking sucks. Like I said, Silk the Shocker is sort of the godfather of today's rap. Silk the Shocker. Meanwhile, his uncle Murder was on that. This is for my nigga, for my nigga. Yo, every time they used to play that, yo, I'm telling you, it had to been at least it had to been like people who died all. It had to be people that died all over the United States anytime they played uh C Murder's song. Matter of fact, it's gonna be the last joint I play because it's kind of late now. Uh, but I'm sorry. Every time they played "Down for My Niggas" in the club, yeah, someone was probably getting beat up. I'm just saying. Anytime they played C Murder in the clubs back in the early 2000s, someone probably got beat up or shot, or that girl got like they or they. I'm sorry. Anytime they played it. All right, that's enough. Yo, and everybody would click up with their like. Everybody would be their homeboys thinking they're like they the hardest thing since sliced bread in the club. Like all me and my boys, we be all like, Yeah, C Murder. I'm pretty sure C Murder got someone shot. I ain't gonna even talk about Nori's Super Thug. Like Super Thug was funny. C Murder was like C Murder down for my niggas. That, that was a love song to the Thugs. That was genuinely a love song to the Thugs. But the song Super Thug by Nori, it had all the suburban kids thinking they were tough, and that was funny. Like you had all these little white kids and Indian kids acting like they were hard listening to Super Thug. I'm like, y'all ain't hard. Like, come on, we're in the DC area. I know y'all from like North Virginia. You're like, you're from Fairfax, you're from Alexandria, you're from Bethesda, you're from Rockville. Like, you know, yeah. Even if you're from PG County, you're like from the nice areas of PG County. Like you're from Upper Marlboro. Like, y'all, come on, y'all not built like that. Stop it. Melissa says I wasn't a pop fan in general. Mrs. Contrarian just overplayed here. Um, Japanese rock is amazing. J-pop and K-pop is just big in Thailand, but it's just catchy. Two and One was just here. They have mostly rock and hip hop with R&B and pop. Robert says I like heavy metal when I exercise. Some, yeah, some songs. There's some heavy metal songs I like when I exercise. Mm, there's two songs I think specifically, and I can't remember the names that I will listen to in a heartbeat when I'm working out. But hip hop has more rhythm to it, so it's I like it better for like when we train, like when we're training in like martial arts. I guess it's nice music, love it. One says UFC mostly come out to hip hop. Yeah, because I mean that's what they train. Like if you go to MMA gym, that's what they mostly train to. Like that's the music they're mostly listening to when they're training. Carlin says the whack rappers this would be too hard to create. I know it would because it's too many whack rappers. Like it's more whack rappers than there's good rappers. So I don't know where you start. All I know is Silk the Shocker has to be somewhere on that top 10 list. Silk the Shocker has to be on that list. Because like I said, Silk the Shocker is the godfather of today's whack hip hop. So I say I nominate Silk the Shocker as the godfather of today's hip hop. So Silk the Shocker is going to be on that list, guaranteed. Carlos says, "Yep, Silk the Shocker, easily the goat of whack rappers." I guess I love Kendrick Lamar. He's fire. Catherine says, "What's your favorite music?" You, you talking about me, Cat, or someone else? Catherine says, "Yep, I remember that song." I had to play it again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got to do it again. All right. What's my favorite music? Well, I actually have said what my favorite music is. My favorite music is actually um, classical Baroque music. I'm a nerd. My favorite music, but I hid that all throughout like my adolescence. Like people, like no one, like unless someone like I mean probably heard me like at home when probably they never did because I would change the radio station. But yeah, I like classical music. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But again, remember, I'm a kid from the 90s. That was not a time where you were talking about you love classical music. Like you're in Baltimore and you're telling someone you like Beethoven and Handel and Chopin and Mozart and Bach No. Carlos says classical music is fire. Thanks, Mitney. Mona says Silk sucked except one song he did with Mystical, but definitely worst rapper off beat. He tried to defend on the Breakfast Club by saying this is my cadence and style. So his cadence was a broken rhythm because that's what he was doing. He was off beat. Like I said, Silk the Shaka couldn't he couldn't rap on beat to save his life. And it was like you you're in the studio, bro. Like you're in the studio. You have time to develop your music so that so that it matches the beat. And he couldn't do it. Like I said, I think he was just I forgot what there's an actual term for people who are off who lack musical rhythm. I forgot what the term is. But remember the term came up a lot when um that Fox reality show came on. It's back now, like I think, or it was back, and now maybe it's gone again. But becoming what was it? You guys know what I'm talking about? The everyone watch, everyone wanted to become the next American Idol, and by the second or third or fourth season, they were trying to explain why so many people were coming onto the show who didn't really have musical talent, and they were saying because a lot of people don't realize that they actually are tune something referring to tuning off tune or something off tune or something like that. But clearly Silk the Shocker had that had whatever that is off tune or whatever you call it. Is that something I cannot remember. One of y'all can might be me but to bring up the term, but people who lack like ability to follow musical rhythm is called, I don't think it's called off tune. I think that's what it describes, but it's like at at tone matic. I can't remember the term, but whatever it is, clearly something Shaka has it. Then tried to, yeah, that's pure cat saying that was his cadence and style. He had no cadence. How is your cadence gonna be no cadence? Was he Bruce Lee sound about? I developed the art of fighting without fighting. So he developed the style of rapping without rapping. That's what he did. Is that Silk Shaka's excuse? Carden says I rock pretty much with all genres of music. He said I think Madonna's Vogue song is sonically solid. Uh, Vogue, Vogue was cool, but it was just too gay for me. I'm not gonna even lie. It was just too gay for me. One says, but I still remember in high school during prep rallies and basketball games, they played nah 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 the whole no limit. The term is no, the term is not Caucasian. You're not if I'm not gonna allow like we wouldn't want to go somewhere and then people make fun of black people, right? So we're not gonna have people come here and make fun of all white people. Like that's we're not doing that on this channel. All right. And no, it was both black, white, and Asian and Latino people that came onto American Idol and could not carry a tune. And like I said, I can't remember the term, but there's a term for it. And actually, the biggest offender of it was the Asian kid. She bangs, ooh, ooh. And he had a whole record deal off that. He had a whole record deal from showing the whole world how bad, how off key he was. And then and the only reason people bought it is because they thought he was special ed, and then come to find out he's actually like freaking smart as hell. He just had no musical talent and got a whole record deal out of it. He was just ugly and he was just ugly and off key, but he was not dumb. People thought he was like special ed because of the way he looked. It's like just it's like they it is because he was Asian and he was ugly, so people assumed he made a head like a he might have been like Down syndrome or something. He wasn't. He was actually a very brilliant kid. Oh, not kid. Well, he's a very brilliant dude. He was just ugly and couldn't sing, and people thought he was special ed. And he got a whole record deal out of it, and then he found out this dude got like a master's degree in engineering or something like that. Uh, Melissa Silk was so bad, even when the producers tried to master it, it was it was so still super awful. Tone deaf? No, not tone deaf. It's not. No, was it tone? Wait, is it tone deaf? Is it tone deaf? It might. Okay, it might be tone deaf then. Mrs. Contrarian saying, yeah, it's tone deaf. Okay, I guess that's what it is. Tone deaf. But they were trying to use that to describe why so many people came onto American Idol and could not cannot sing a tune. And they were saying because a lot of them were apparently tone deaf, and but they didn't know it. Silk the Shocker has that in spades. Like he has super tone deaf or something. And I'm mad he tried to actually come to the Breakfast Club and Cap and say that was his cadence and style. There was no cadence. You can't talk about a cadence when there's no cadence. Like in Chikunda, we have a thing called no broke. We have broken rhythm, the broken rhythm training, where so if people know like fighting, like whether you're talking about like boxing or kickboxing, when people are exchanging blows with each other, they get into a sort of a rhythm with each other. So if you can break the rhythm, it will give you an advantage so that you can break the rhythm temporarily and and score a timed hit, right? So that's like so you're exchanging blows with each other, but then you either um but then you break you cause a you break the rhythm by causing a half beat change by like pausing, or instead of pausing you ramp it up and you change the pace. Like that's broken rhythm. And left-handed fighters often naturally had a broken rhythm because when they fought with against an orthodox fighter, it was a there wasn't a the natural rhythm of the fight was disturbed because the orthodox fighter had a hard time following in the fighting rhythm with a southpaw fighter. So that's one of the reasons why in Jacunda we will use a right lead stance instead of a left lead stance like most traditional boxers and kickboxers do, because the right lead stance, you put your strong side forward like in fencing, but also it could lead to it being harder for an orthodox fighter to fight against you. Anyway, not getting into the martial arts, but yeah, that's all just to say he has his own cadence and style doesn't make sense because your cadence can't be you he's trying to say his cadence is a broken cadence like that. That just sounds silly when it comes to music. Anyway, like I said, with fighting I would grant you that, but when it comes to rapping, you're saying that your cadence and style is to sound like you can't rhyme. That doesn't make sense. I've literally okay. I think I'm gonna have to play Silk the Shocker. Oh, Ms. Katrina said I'm curious about Silk the Shocker. I never heard of his name. Oh, now I have to play it, guys. Now I do have to play it. Thanks, Cash. She also said tone deaf. I'm gonna have to play Silk the Shocker because Mrs. Katrina said she never heard him. You've heard of Master P though, right? Right, Mahal. I mean, I already played his uncle C Murder, so I might as well play Silk. Silky. He also was in a movie with the guy Jeff Speakman from Kempo Karate. Silk the Shaka. Uh, and the covers to the CDs for the No Limit CDs, they're just legendary in how bad they look. So I'm gonna play the only one his songs I do like, but that's because it's with Maya.
When you say let's go to breakfast, you mean let's go to McDonald's.
She's laughing. She's I never heard of his
Go from
name.
yum to yay with a 2 for $5 deal on your
The
favorite
Usher was
breakfast
on a jet with
sandwiches.
T Pain and made the stewardess bring T Pain to sit with Usher, so Usher could say T Pain, you literally ruined singing in R&B because of auto tune. That's not T Pain in a deep depression. All right, enough of that. That's Maya. And we get to when he starts what you call what he would refer to as rapping, but what I would not refer to as rapping. This nigga can't rap. I'm sorry, this nigga can't rap. Hold on, let me get closer to the TV so y'all can hear this trash. All right. All right, I can't. I can't. I can't do it anymore. He cannot rap, and that's one of his better songs. Business Control said William Hung. Yep, I'm talking about William Hung from American Idol. Had a whole record deal, guys, and he could not sing. People just thought people thought he was like low key retarded, and he wasn't. He had like an engineering degree. Well, this is for years. T Pain has a podcast and talked about all that and proved he can really sing. No, he. I know he can really sing because 10 years, like it was like about 10 years ago, there was this producer. He took all these artists and had them sing a cappella. And one of the people he had sing a cappella was T Pain. And I was like, yo, T Pain can really sing. It was like T Pain and a few other people. I think it might have been a whole album. I don't remember, but it was this producer. He took a bunch of these guys, some of them who always use auto tune, and had them sing a cappella. And they could really sing. T Pain is actually like a legit singer. Uh, It would be like if you always heard Jamie Foxx on auto tune, and then all of a sudden you actually hear him sing because you didn't know him before he did the auto tune thing with T Pain, and then you hear him for the first time, and you're like, "Yo, Jamie Foxx is actually sing." That's how it was with T Pain. Like T Pain can really sing. Him as Carlin says, him as trying. Yep, that's him. Yeah, William Hung. What's another popular one? He got another. I mean, he got a bunch of trash songs, but I'm trying to think of something else that was like really popular. Damn, Silk the Shocker was trash. Like I said, he is the godfather of all the bad hip hop today. See, he was just trash.
Festool Power Tool.
Well, this is he didn't realize you can get DMs on Instagram. He made an apology to Rihanna, Jay, Beyonce, Pink, and everyone that he missed years of messages. Yeah. Carlin says, I remember Sucker Shaka said he let Tupac listen to his music and Pac was just staring at him. He said, are you serious? Yo, out of it. That's funny. Well, I mean, he's lucky Tupac didn't say anything. The fact that Tupac just stared at him, didn't say anything.
Get 3.9% APR. Yeah, yeah. I let you into the organization. thought you could be trusted. You could have anything. How could you betray the family?
God, it's
Loyalty
corny.
is everything. You broke the rules.
This is someone who's clearly living off his older brother's. Wait, why I keep calling C Murder his uncle? I mean, no, that's his older brother. I'm sorry. You know, Silk is the younger brother of Master P and Silk and C Murder. I don't know why I'm calling him his. I'm thinking of because I'm thinking of Romeo. Now I think Silk the Shocker did do a song with Lil Romeo. When he was Lil Romeo, not Romeo. Whack, whack. God, it's whack. It's funny, like the No Limit CDs with the little cheap covers they used to have on them. It looked like something someone was selling out the back of their car.
Yo, God. When you say let's go to
When
breakfast,
this Thai music doesn't
you
have good
mean
rhythm,
let's
just
go
the
to
rock bands and
McDonald's.
pop bands.
Oh,
Thai rappers still
Go from
full
yawn
on
to yay with a
full
2 for $5
bars.
deal on your favorite
Lyrics
breakfast
from
sandwiches.
American rappers and rapping in Thai. No one saying anything. Well, there was this Thai rapper who just competed in Muay Thai, and she got trained by Fair, uh, Stamp Fairfax, Fairtex.
They must die tonight. By what method, sir? Crime. What's up, y'all? Ain't my fault. It's the Shaka House. It ain't my fault. We're gonna get riding, body. We're gonna charge this into the game. Ain't no limit, you heard me? Y'all can't stop us. We don't stop. We don't stop. We don't stop. We can't stop. We can't stop. You can't stop. Don't try. Ain't no limit. We don't stop.
Everyone on the song is fire except for Silk. Mystical is bringing it. Master P is bringing it. Silk the Shocker fucks it all up. Someone says Migos suck. Future and 21 Savage way off beat. Yeah, this is 21 Savage sucks. Migos, Future, Future is just better known as being like that dude that sleeps around and gets a lot of women pregnant. Heard of what? This gonna Moses is gonna turn. You don't want to know Silk the Shocker. I might play more for her off the live. Melissa's No Limit Records was hilarious. Fiend had a great song with Mamma Mia called Big Timers. I think I remember that. I guess be careful of copyright. Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying not to play it for too long, except for I think when I played that C Murder, I played that one for too long. Carlos the Sugar Free and Blueface rap like that too. Yeah, like I said, Silk the Shocker is the godfather of the rhymeless rapping style today. All the rhymeless rapping is can trace their ancestry to Silk the Shocker. I literally I think I must have said this like 10 years ago, and I stand by it. All the whack hip hop of today can trace its lineage to Silk the Shocker, even if they don't know it. Ms. Contrarian says auto tune sounds good with people who can sing. Yeah, that's why T Pain is so good, Ms. Contrarian, because he can actually sing. Like I've heard him sing a cappella, and T Pain is a really good singer. He used he used auto tune because it sound just because it made us it it made a catchier beat. But he can actually sing. Like you can tell people who can sing compared to people who can't sing with auto tune because it's because even with auto tune it still sounds iffy, right? But when someone can actually sing and they're using auto tune, it makes it sound even better. So TJ Clips is my first time watching. Hello. Melissa says no plays Slick's verse on Make 'em say oh Silk. Best part was when he said left is quick took. My left is quick too. My left is his Silk has a song so let me hit it. And I'm done because I think I've already like getting close to being to having some copyright issues. And I can't take too much of Silk the Shocker. Like he sucks. Like I said, the only song I can stand him on is is the Maya song. And that's just because of Maya. She was from right around the way when I was going to Maryland. Like I think her father's bitch ass was walking around like trying to get women by saying, "Yeah, I'm Maya's father." Like you're lame ass on some sugar daddy shit. Yeah, I'm Maya's father. That's lame as fuck. So I think she was from PG County because we used to say Pete in PG County, Maryland. Prince George's County, Maryland. For those who don't know, we, the girls used to say that's well. I don't know if the girls started it or if the guys started, but they kept saying PG County standard for pretty girls. Well, because I mean, compared to Baltimore, because I'm gonna say, and if anyone's here from Baltimore and get offended, I don't care. Baltimore has some of the ugliest bitches I ever seen. So it made sense that people would go out and say, yeah, PG stands for pretty girls. And they used to say Montgomery County girls were were uh were too bougie. One of his and T Pain saying "Buy Your Drink" and many others live on YouTube with no auto tune, and he can sing. Yep. One says "No Limit" was huge in the South. Them and Cash Money. Yeah, he's saying mystical. Thanks, Samuel. Yeah, can someone delete Juan Crew? He on some gay shit. We don't do that gay shit here. Take your ass to the Blue Oyster. Both him and Psionic X. Only I have a strong suspicion that's those two assholes from the past. I'm pretty sure it's them. Y'all can take your pillow fighting asses somewhere else. The subject of the conversation is literally in the title of the live. I don't. Again, it mystifies me how people jump into a live stream and literally don't know what it's about. Like we've been talking about hip hop music for the past 2 hours, so I don't know how there's any confusion on that. If you don't know what a live stream is about, why are you entering the live stream? You don't know what they're talking about. That doesn't make any sense. That's like that's like attending a college course and you don't know what the college course is about. It doesn't make sense. But I mean, we clearly been talking about hip hop for the past 2 hours, and I've made the claim that today's hip hop sucks. Yeah, Colin says these trolls don't read titles. I know, like like I've literally had the note. I literally had this up for the past 4 days, So it's no is no like I've been trying to be different, like do things differently where I try to I'm trying for the past week I've tried to like um put up what I'm going to talk about days up and this can turn is I think some people just scroll from stream to stream so they can't see the stream title. Yeah, that's I mean that's what Miss Needle told me too. But again, I still blame the who I'm just not going to jump into a stream and I don't know what it's about. That, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Why would you like? I don't know. Maybe because I'm older. Maybe because I don't, I don't jump into live streams like that. But I wouldn't jump into a live stream unless I already know what it's about. Like every time I have jumped into a live stream, I already knew what it was about. Like if I jump into a live stream with Zoom to Thailand or Dennis Sperling or or anyone that I already follow here is you like and people that I jump into a live stream is always people who I already follow on YouTube. See, and we got another troll now. Ms. Contreras says sometimes I scroll by mistake. No, see again. So that's different. That's different, baby. Like you're saying you scroll by mistake. I'm saying, but what I'm saying is there's people here on YouTube that just literally jump from stream to stream, and I'm like, that's retarded to me. I'm sorry. Like I'm not talking about the YouTube shorts. I've jumped from YouTube shorts to YouTube shorts as well. I'm talking about live streams, jumping from live stream to live stream. Like, why would you jump into a live stream and you don't know anything? I wouldn't do that. Like, it has to be something that I'm already interested in hearing before I go into it. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't know a nice way to say what I was gonna say. So never mind. He said, yeah, sorry to be naive about bro. Love the chat, but I find it somewhere else. Maybe people just scroll to find someone to talk to. Yeah, I'm not here to do therapy for people. People jump into live streams at late at night because they need therapy. They should be going to bed and getting up and exercising, getting some proper nutrition and rest instead of being on live streams late in the middle of the night hoping for someone to talk to. That's that male loneliness factor that they're talking about. Like y'all need help, and I'm not here to provide therapy unless if you're not dropping something in the super chat, I'm not here to talk with people about random stuff. My topic was on hip hop music. Sorry, maybe you'll find it somewhere else. Cardinal says, Jessica Train, I think I found your channel by strolling, but I'm not a troll. LOL. No, like I said, a lot of people will jump into your live streams by chance. I get that. What I'm saying is people who literally like they jump from live stream to live stream to live stream. I'm like, what? Because like I, live streams are a little bit usually more dry than just watching like a good video that you're actually interested in. What's up, Dundrel? Um, I guess it's because you're Gen X. Yeah, probably. It's for the same reason I won't watch people play a video game on Twitch or something like that. I'm not watching someone else play a. Why would I watch someone else play a video game when I can play one myself? That's dumb. They pay them money to watch them to play the video game. I'm like, how the what? I'm like, damn, I got the game all messed up. Like, if I can play a video game, I can live stream myself playing a video game for 24 hours straight while people just drop money as they watch me playing a video game. That's crazy. Anyway, getting back to the subject. So, Ms. Contrarian, you've now are you kind of acquainted with Silk the Shocker? Same as it says the guy on live because I'm getting paid, bruh. So suck a dick. Anyway, they why they keep messing with Gen X guys? Fleece Johnson, I don't think so. DJ, go take your Peter puffing ass somewhere else. So anyway, guys, I'm about to go because you see as it gets later, you get more mental midgets here. because most of these people who come in after 1 o'clock are retarded. I'm just gonna say most of these guys after midnight are trolls. They are literally retarded ass men who need therapy and exercise and nutrition, but they stay up all night hoping to have someone to talk to. They literally troll people just to hoping to engage them in a conversation because they're too fucking socially awkward to actually start a real conversation with people during the daytime. I don't give a fuck, Samuel. He must have thought I gave a fuck. Sorry, Generation X. I'm broke. I'm fresh out of fucks to give today. Sorry. Maybe I'll have more fucks to give in a few weeks, but fresh out of fucks to give. They they don't understand Gen X at all. They think we're one of them. They really think we're one of them. So I'm out. Now, if someone wants to engage in a conversation and they drop in a super chat, that's one thing. But if they're not dropping a super chat, that's different. So anyway, should I should I play one more thing before I go, guys? I don't know. I think we need something to wash the palate because we had to listen to that Silk the Shocker. Maybe we need to clean the palate, our musical palate a bit. What do you guys think?
What matters most to you
Yeah,
is
I'm
exactly
a
what
play
matters
something,
to
then I'm
us.
gonna go. I need something
For over
some
40
to
years,
cleanse the
we've been
musical palate.
Baltimore's first and only accredited life plan community. Learn more.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, that's it. I'm out. Peace. Talk to you tomorrow.